See me, I guess.
Well,
Okay.
we can go
Hey,
with
John,
it.
hey, John or Keith, can I ask a question of Rob before we get started?
Yeah,
Rob, can you hear me okay, Rob?
I can.
Yeah. Rob, there was some sort of a when it was built by Bill Sullivan. Is that covenant still in effect? I know it was renewed every 10 years.
It depends on the language of the covenant. I'm just involved in a case on that. Some of them require that every signer to the original plan of lots sign off in order to change that. And of course, that's impossible to change. What did the covenant say?
I tried to find it. I had a copy of it, Rob, and I can't find my copy in time for this meeting. I called John about it, and he didn't have a copy or any knowledge of it either. It had to do with the zone, the side yard lots and the buildings that you can put on it, that kind of stuff.
Well, that's relevant then.
Well, I was concerned that it might be, yeah. There used to, I think,
that would have to be in the deeds, right?
It should be.
Because a lot of these houses have been sold over and over again.
Yeah,
That's
a
correct.
good title searcher and a good deed preparer would find that and put that in. It doesn't overrule what we do, though. I mean, you can have whatever you want in the covenant, and it's still subject to the zoning ordinance.
because it had side yards, had to be 20 feet, had the size of the buildings you can put on, other, auxiliary buildings, that kind of stuff. It went back, it started in the 40s, Rob, as I remember, but I'm probably making more trouble than it's worth here, but I just don't know which is which here. Which one applies.
Oh, they both apply. They both apply.
Well, this house here has added a porch to the one side where it's only 13.6 feet to the side yard.
If the covenant says they have to be 20 feet off, they have to be 20 feet off. Ours say we have to be 10 feet off, and it isn't even 10, so we've got to deal with that. The covenant, by the way, is enforced by action between and among the homeowners and litigation if they don't otherwise agree. I mean, it's totally independent of the township.
Okay.
Okay, we ready to get started?
Yeah, I think we are. Yeah, thank you, John.
Okay. Michael, can you hear us and everything good? Michael?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, okay, I can hear you now.
All right, great.
Okay, you ready to start, Mr. Chairman?
If everybody's on, yes, I am.
Okay.
Call the meeting to order. We have Pledge of Allegiance. You're going to say the pledge, or you're going to sit and say it? How you want to do it? I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States
of America, and to the
republic
republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
one nation.
under
God,
God,
indivisible.
Liberty and justice for all.
For all.
Okay, roll call there.
Mr. Kelly,
Here.
Mr. Smith,
Here.
Mr. Voda,
Here.
Mr. Ofer,
Here.
Ms. Blake,
Here.
and Solicitor Exides.
Here,
Okay, now,
We do have one set of minutes to approve from the May meeting.
yeah. So do I have a motion on the May meeting?
So move.
Second.
Okay. Terry made first, and Charlie made the second, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Right.
Okay. Want to swear everybody in? Rob?
yes. Everybody yeah, everybody offering testimony in support of or in opposition to the hearing needs to be sworn. And that would be Mr. Koch. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. What do I have to say? I swear.
I know, I say it. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as you shall answer to God on the last great day.
I do.
I do.
Okay.
Okay. So, Mr. Cope, if you want to explain what you want to do to the board.
Yes, sir. What we propose to do is to build a 3-car garage in our backyard, leading off of an existing driveway. I believe the building is 874 square feet, and it would be situated, if we were to align it with our driveway, 8 feet from the property line with our side property line with our neighbors. I've spoken to them. They don't have any issue with it. The actual building would be 8 feet off the property line, but we're asking for 7 because the building will have a 6-inch overhang. And I believe that is all that, requires a variance, those 2 issues.
What kind of roof are you having on this?
3-tab asphalt shingle, black.
Gable?
It's
Barns?
a gable.
Okay.
What is the building going to be constructed of?
It's going to be a classic construction. It's going to have a cement block foundation, 5 courses, and then it's going to be built with 2x4s and OSB 16 inches on center all around, with a stick-built roof of 2x6s, 24 inches on center.
And what height will it be?
I can give you the inside proportions. It's going to have 9-foot walls on the inside. So I'm not exactly sure what that makes the height of the building, but the garage doors will be 8 foot tall, which gives the inside dimensions a 9-foot ceiling.
Okay, and what utilities will be in the building?
Just electric.
No sewage connections of any sort?
No.
Cement floor?
Yes, 4-inch cement floor.
And no basement to it?
No.
Okay.
By the way, the application says 864 square feet. And I think you said
That's
874.
correct.
Okay.
That's correct on the application. Yeah, I made a mistake. I don't have it in front of me.
Okay. And it says request to build 7 feet from the side property line.
That's correct. Yeah, the actual building will sit 8 feet off of the property line, but it'll have a 6-inch overhang. So that's why we asked for 7. On the gable end, it'll have a 6-inch overhang.
That and the overhangs are permitted, and I always ask for, if the board would grant something like this, the 1 foot the 1 foot safety measure, just in case something is not dead center.
Right.
Question, what about stormwater?
We're having gutters and downspouts installed, and I'll run the downspouts into an underground pipe, and I'm going to have that extend down well beyond my neighbor's house. And it'll empty out into our front yard and run into the street.
The application is just in your name. The survey says Michael and Lauren Cope. Or Mike, who is the owner?
My wife and I own the property together.
Okay, wouldn't you want the variance issued in both names then?
If that's appropriate.
On the
Yeah,
application, it has both.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yeah, under landowner, it has Michael Bryan and Lauren Elizabeth Cope, and he just has himself down as
Oh, I see.
the
As the
applicant.
Okay. Well, I think we'll make it in the name of both then.
Is there a right of way beyond the, if you're looking at the survey on the right-hand side, it's showing like a 35-foot dotted line between him and the wall.
No,
there are no.
I'm thinking that may have been a line that was removed. This lot may contain, may originally been more than one lot.
Oh yeah, so it's 1.5 lots, and our neighbor owns. I believe it's lot 5 was split between me and our neighbors on the right.
Okay,
Yeah, so that line you're referring to, Keith, on the right of it would be the extinguished old property line.
okay.
Who owns the shed in the back?
That's ours.
Okay. And that's going to stay?
Yeah, it was here when we moved in. So I don't know that it's legal or not, but it's been here since we moved in. It was built in the 90s.
Okay. Now that easement for the utilities back there, it's a little, well, let me start with the question where the new garage is going to be. There's a 10-foot arrow there going to the back property line, it appears. That's including the utility easement?
That's correct. We will be staying 10 feet off of our back property line.
So how far do you expect to be from the utility easement then?
Totally 5.
In the plans, we were going to build right up to the easement.
What utilities comes through there? Is that the electric lines that come through there?
It is.
Yeah, electric and cable and such, huh?
You know, the plans show a 10-foot for the easement, but actually it's 15. Because when they were doing the down around the Girl Scouts and that, the power line is a 15-foot easement through that area. They extended it.
Yeah, Keith, on this street, Keith, most of the, well, not most, I think all the electric utilities were put on the back of the properties, on both the front, the first edition and the second edition on the back here.
Right, and the utilities down there went between Mohawk and the Girl Scout camp.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying that if they come through, he's still far enough off the right of way if they're going to do something. Because when they came through and redid the sewer line down there and that, they went wider than the 10-foot.
Yeah, do they have any sewer lines back there?
Where?
Not that I'm aware of.
No, I believe all the sewage runs on, yeah, all the sewage runs directly down the middle of Colonial. You can see it on the survey. It's marked as sanitary, and there's actually a manhole in the front.
That's for this property, but I was just wondering if there's any others coming from other properties behind him there. But I don't
believe there's anything really developed right behind those pieces of property.
Nothing that would be down through there. Huh? It's a 10-foot easement they show here, but would you say it was 15-foot, Keith?
Yeah, Because when they came through and did all the trimming for the power lines and that, they were coming off the pole 7.5 feet on each side. And it's showing that one pole, I think it's right. Well, that's probably the power line went through there.
Uh-huh.
So it looks like his property is right. That 10-foot right of way will be right up against the back of his garage.
It's if I'm reading, help me a little bit, guys. I may be reading the drawing wrong here, but it looks like from the back of his property, there's a 10-foot easement. And then he's building 10 feet from the back property. So he's building right on the easement, is he not?
Yes, he is. Because if you look to the right of the garage, there's a utility pole right there.
Yeah, how is that? Yeah, I wonder how that's going to line up with the utility requirements for the distance between, how far it's coming down there.
Well, if it's a true 10-foot easement, they would come through and they would be right up against the back of his garage. What I'm saying is, if it was changed over time when this was put in to 15 foot, 7.5 on each side, he would be in the easement.
Yeah, that's what, okay, I understand it, Keith. I'm with you.
And if
Looks like
they,
you might have it. Yeah.
they have to come through with a truck to do anything.
Well, and I guess I don't know what the distance is, what the utility requires, the electric utility requires for the distance between their lines and the building that he's proposing to build here. Their cables could be laying right on his building.
No, the building is proposed to be 10 feet off the property line. So the building would not be within the existing easement on that map.
But it shows it on here as being right on this. If you build the building like it's proposed here, you'll be right on the easement for the public utilities.
I would probably say that drawing is not to scale. It was just a representation of where the building is going to go. I would look at the actual, the labeling of the numbers there where it says that the building will be 10 feet off of the property line.
That's what I'm doing. And that shows from me, unless I misunderstood it, it shows that the building being 10 foot off the property line is right up against the 10-foot easement that the public utilities has. And it looks like it lines up with the telephone pole, the utility pole that they have shown there.
It is intended to be right up against the easement. It was my understanding that we just had to stay off of that easement.
I don't know. I understand where you're coming from, and I don't have, I don't have a question on that. I'm with you. I just don't know what your requirements would be for the electric utilities there. They're letting a lot of slack in their cables these days.
Yeah, they wouldn't be hanging over. They wouldn't be over the building. The building would be, I believe those wires run down the property line, so they would be 10 feet away from the back of the building.
That's not what your drawing shows. That's what's confusing me.
So regardless of what the drawing shows, what we did was measured from our back property line, we measured in 10 feet, and that's where we proposed the back of the building goes.
Okay, from your property line to the utility pole, how many feet is it?
I don't know offhand, sir.
I'm going by the drawing, I would say that it is 5 foot off your property line. Could you put your garage 10 foot off your back property line?
That's what we were looking to do. I'm not sure where the confusion is.
Excuse me, 12 foot off back property.
Looking,
Hey, Keith, where I'm coming from is if I look at the only thing I have in front of me here now is the drawing guy. So if I'm going in the wrong direction, just redirect me. But if I use the drawing, it shows the garage being 10 feet off the back property line. And it also shows that the telephone public utility easement, the telephone utility pole, I better not say telephone, that's dating me, isn't it? The utility pole is 10 feet off the property line. So they're right in line with each other according to the drawing.
yeah, looking at and using the scale, Larry, on the drawing.
I'm not scaling it.
No, I'm not scaling it, but I'm using the scale that's on the drawing as a guide.
Okay.
Where he has the building, using the scale on the drawing, the back would be 10 feet from his back property line, and it would be 5 feet from the center of the 10-foot easement, which is 5 foot on either side of, so he would be out of the easement.
But it can't be, John, it can't be that way. According to the drawing, without scaling anything, if I take the easement as 10 feet, the 10-foot easement is on his property. Now, the garage location on the drawing, the way it's sketched in there could be a little misleading because it's showing that it's going to be located 10 feet from the back property line. And yet, physically on the drawing, it's shown as a distance between the easement and the building. And what I've just explained to us is that the building is going to sit right on the easement. And so if this were drawing properly, if I understand this now, if this were drawn correctly as he's explained it, the building should be right up against the easement.
Correct.
And that they both then would be 10 feet from the property line. And that then might give him a problem or might give us some concern relative to where the utility pole, the wires from the utility pole are going right over his garage.
My concern is if you put the garage up and they have to come through and the easement has been changed in any way and your garage is on the easement, then, you know, there's going to be trouble. So
I'm looking at the print now, and that left-hand side, there's a 10-foot mark there between the property line and the easement, like. So is that 10 foot there? That space 10 foot? If that's 10 foot, then he's got 20 feet over here then.
no, Terry, he didn't put the arrow all the way to the property line. That's all.
Well, I'm talking about the off his property. It says a 10 foot. You see that to the left of the property?
Mr. Cope, are you with us? You on the phone with us yet?
I am. Yeah.
If this were drawn correctly, and if I'm correct, if I'm understanding what you're trying to display to us here, the garage should actually be back against the easement for the public utilities. Is that correct?
That's correct. The back wall of the building is 10 feet off of the property line.
Good deal. Then I'm with you. I understand, and that we're understanding it. I'm with you on it. That's what's concerning me is that, and then Keith, your question or your comment is still appropriate. I'm not second guessing that one relative to the 15. If they need more distance. but I'm concerned of what this building is. See, it's a little misleading. It's showing this building as being 10 feet off the property line, but it's not drawn in that way. And what the gentleman's doing here is he wants to put the building right against his easement. I understand
Larry,
yeah.
I have a question. I don't see how looking at the drawing, it's showing that, and using the scale that's provided on the drawing itself, that's 10 feet from the line.
I think maybe where the,
I'm not scaling it, John, because that's a little dangerous. What I'm doing is I'm looking at the drawing of the garage that he's put in there. Okay, and what he just told us, if I understand it correctly, that the gentleman wants to put this garage physically right on the easement for the public utilities. So the way the drawing's showing it is probably not correct, if I'm understanding him right. The drawing should be showing this garage back on the easement line. And it would then be 10 feet from his property line, which is what he wants.
Well, the easement line is 5 foot on each side of the utility pole.
yeah, the easement line is really hard to see in this copy, in this drawing. It's pretty much right, almost in line with that back wall of the building.
So his back property line is 5 foot from the utility pole.
Yes,
Yeah.
and the building would be 5 foot on the other side of the utility pole.
So the drawing's right then.
I don't think
It is.
I
It's
think
just
the
really hard
drawing's
to
right.
see that back line.
I think the drawing's right, Rob, but I think the way we just interpreted it is not.
Yeah, but the whole thing is how it's drawn on here. It's to the point that my concern is down the road, he may have some trouble. I just question if he can bring it to 12 feet off his property line to give a 2 foot buffer.
You mean off the easement line, Pete, not the property line?
The property line.
Yeah.
He's going off the property line 10 foot. So if he comes off 12 foot, he'll be 2 foot off the easement.
Are you asking me if that's something that we would want to do?
Yeah.
I mean, it would be difficult to do that. That would make the garage, it's already fairly shallow due to the limitations that we have. And we can't pull the building into the property line anymore because that's where the existing driveway is.
Here, this may help for those of you that can see my screen. Let me bring this up here. This might help a little bit.
Hey, John, I just lost you.
Can you?
John,
Yeah.
I have voice, but I don't have any picture anymore.
Okay, because I'm going to try and share my screen here. Hang on.
Okay.
There, can everyone see that screen?
No.
Yes.
I see it now.
I've lost any picture, John.
I got it on mine. I can see the driveway and where
I
the
think
garage is
Starting
going to
to
be.
see the issue. If you
I
make it
figured-
any closer, it's going to make it difficult for cars to turn around and get into the garage. Is that the idea?
Yes, sir.
Is there a structure, is there a garage there now? Is that what that's showing?
No,
No.
there is a shed in the corner of the property. And,
It's the other corner.
That's a boat.
Hey, John,
yes.
I can hear everybody good. I just don't have a blank screen. When you make some changes there, I dropped off.
Okay, we can see you.
Okay, that's good. If you can see me, that's all good enough for you guys, I guess.
Are you seeing any names or anything on your screen, Larry?
No, John, nothing at all. Just a blank screen, black.
Try moving your mouse or something. See if your screensaver may have come up.
It came up. I got you, John. I got you now.
Okay.
I don't want to see us. Okay. Well, if you can't bring it in anymore, what's the thoughts of the board?
Before you go there, you want me to see if there's any public comment?
Yeah.
Russell, do you have any comment?
No, I have no comment.
Okay. And I see somebody else here just as HOF. I'm seeing if they can unmute there. I'm not sure who that is. I think someone else called in by phone. If you can unmute yourself if you have a comment.
Ken.
Okay, somebody was just there. Okay,
All
we
right.
can.
It just keeps coming in and out on me, John. Sorry.
Okay, who is this?
But I'm getting the same. Well, I'm okay now. I was getting the same thing as she's getting. I'm going in and out, black screen, and then come back.
Okay, I don't believe we have any public comment, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So what is the thoughts on the board?
Hey, John,
Yes, Jane.
what is behind the property, behind the easement?
There's some grassy area and then there's a driveway.
Okay, so then there's another home back in there then?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I wondered.
You access from, I can't remember which direction. Let me see here.
You access from the main road, John.
Okay, yeah, from Green Oak Buena Vista.
Green Oak Buena Vista Road, yes.
Oh, okay.
Their driveway, Jane, is right next to where Coke Lane is. Do you know where Coke Lane is there? Coke Lane, well, as you make that sharp turn after you pass the cemetery, where the caretaker's house used to be, right after you pass that, Jane, there's a driveway or a road goes back to the left, Coke Lane. It's probably 12 feet wide. It's Township Road. And then the driveway goes on kind of a 34 or 35 degree angle off of that to this property that you folks are talking about now.
I see. Is there a home back in there, or it's just grass and wood?
No, there's a home. There's a very large home.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, my thoughts were, just enough. He needs room to make sure that they can get to those lines that are there at the easement. That's an issue if they had to get back in there and do something. does this leave the utility companies enough room? Or would they
Well,
want to dig?
They
I
can
agree.
actually, like, most of that area up in there, it's so narrow and so many sheds built on it that a lot of the utilities, they have to come down someone's driveway and get to the pole to do the work.
Yeah, and just looking a little further up on his side at 9 Colonial, there's I'll share my screen here. Give me a second here. If you can see my screen.
Coming up,
Yep.
Okay, if you can see my mouse here, this is 9 Colonial, and there's a garage or shed, some large structure, and here's the utility pole right here. So it looks like there's quite a few things through there that are built very close, or some may even be on top of the easement or underneath it since it's aerial.
Okay. Okay.
Looks like there's a row of trees right next to it and within the easement.
Yeah.
There's no is there any vegetation on the easement here? I didn't see any.
Yes,
there's
sir.
trees right there.
No, I mean at number 5.
yes, there is some. Let me go back up here.
There's a row of pine trees that runs the length of the gentleman's property line who lives behind us.
Yeah. And are they right up to the line?
Yeah.
Yes, they are right
in the
on
line.
the other side.
John, should we take a closer look at this?
I don't think.
Okay.
With his neighbor having that one built right up against it, and with all these trees and that, for the utility company to come in with a truck, they're not going to get through there. That right of way hasn't been taken care of in years. As long as the right of way is still a true 10-foot right of way, and he's definitely 10 foot off the right of way. I mean, the back property line.
That and looking at it, if they would have to get to the normally they have to try and get to a pole first. It looks like they would be able to access that pole from his driveway and just around the side of the garage. Does that sound correct, Mr. Cope?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point. Anything that's done would be done at the pole rather than in the middle of a line between poles.
Right.
And the lines, if I follow Mr. Cope correctly, the lines are not going to go over the top of your building's not going to be underneath the lines.
No, sir. They'll be 5 feet off the line.
So what's the distance from the pole to the building at the nearest point? Looks like about 5 feet.
From the center of the pole to the building will be 5 feet.
That pole, that pole's diagonal from the corner of the building.
Mhm.
I would say, I'm just estimating by sight here, but it's at least 5 feet, but I would guess somewhere between 5 and 10.
Right.
Is
Yeah.
that pole, is that where your transformer is located for your house to feed your house?
Yes, sir.
And where does that line go? Just straight back?
That line runs parallel with the back property line and feeds all of the houses up and down the street.
Okay.
But I think what Rob's asking, if I understood you, Rob, how does the feed from the transformer that feeds your house, where does that line run to your house?
It runs
currently?
It runs right from that pole to on the drawing right to the left of where you see 57.7. It hangs over our backyard and goes to about that point at the house.
Parallel to the garage.
Parallel, yeah, probably.
A little bit of a diagonal.
Yeah, it looks like it'll probably be at least 8 feet away from the garage.
Mhm. And how will you get power to the garage?
The plan was to run from the house, run an underground line out to the garage and do a secondary box.
So meter everything off the house.
That's correct.
Mhm.
There's been no contact with the utility about this, I take it. Well, who is the utility? Is it West Penn Power?
Yes.
Okay, and there's been no contact with them.
Not from us, no.
And I don't know that they can require you to be any farther than the easement requires.
No, they can't.
One thing, go ahead. One thing that occurs to me is if this is the board's main concern, they could always make the variance conditional on consent from West Penn. I assume that there's somebody that can be contacted and can give an opinion on that.
That makes sense, John.
It does, Jane, because I believe they have standards by which they operate under, and this would be new construction, so they'd probably hold pretty close to their standards.
Right, right.
I don't think we can get a grandfather on this one.
Also, did you get a height on the peak of that roof?
I
did
have not, ma'am.
The closest we got to it, Jane, was 9-foot walls.
Yeah.
He's probably going to 412 pitch on the garage.
Is that what it is?
That's correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it would be under.
Yeah, it'll be under the 15.
Okay, that's what I wondered. Well, my thoughts are to contact West Penn Power and see what they have to say about it and make it conditional on it being okay with them.
You want to make that motion?
Mm-hmm. I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
I'll
Okay,
second it.
So then we're going to grant the square footage. And the
And a 3-foot side variance.
7-foot
And a 3-foot
side
side
yard
variance.
on the condition of checking with the power company to make sure it's okay.
Right.
And 7 feet instead of the 8.
Right.
Mhm.
And then that'll settle it. No one will have to worry about it.
The square footage for the garage, for a 2-car garage is what, 750?
50, he would need a 114 square foot dimensional variance for the size, and then a 3-foot dimensional variance to the side property line.
With the condition that he contacts West Penn Power and makes sure that it can be built right on the easement line. We have the,
I just have a quick question for Rob. Rob, how would we do that? Because I mean, he's within our zoning requirements to the rear line.
Oh, the board can set, the
It
board
would
has
just be a
very
standard
broad-
condition?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The board has broad authority to do that sort of thing.
I mean, in a sense, we're doing it for his convenience, that if there is a problem with the power company, that it's taking care of now, not down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I mean, my son had West Penn Power, and they came through and trimmed trees, and they were going 15 foot from the pole on each side.
7.5 feet on each side, John. Or Keith.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I mean, that's the only thing that, you know, I remember with down to Girl Scout camp and that you know, it, so and you know, they may just turn around and say it's fine,
Right.
because you know that it you know, we don't grant anything in the easement. He's building right on the easement.
And that states that that is a utility right of way. It doesn't just say it's an electrical right of way. It could be gas.
Yeah, there's another utility could come through and want to go through there. But we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's granted with the condition. So,
Now, what does the board want from the power company? Because I'm going to have to verify what the board would accept, deem acceptable.
Wondering if you could have the email you the results of what they've said.
And I think, protect everybody here, it seems like we ought to have a confirmation that that's the only public utility that's coming down through there.
How about if we just require written consent?
that's fine.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, the power company's going through there, and then you're going to have the cable company going through there, and Verizon, and they're all going, you know, through that.
Yeah, but it's West Penn Power's easement, right?
It would probably go back to who holds the easement, because they normally rent space off of, if it's a West Penn pole, it's still West Penn's easement.
Yeah, you're right, John, and at least that's what I have on my property, and I'm on the back end of where he is. And you're correct in what you just said, but there's no other utilities come in there, you know, no other, I don't know of any on the front there, to be honest with you, but I just don't know.
Yeah, I think the sewage, water, and everything else is under Colonial Drive.
Well, the manholes are. I know where you're coming from. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the curb boxes are there as well, unless I'm mistaken.
By the way, John, I checked, I'm looking at the municipality's planning code. Section 910.2B says, in granting any variance, the board may attach such reasonable conditions and safeguards as it may deem necessary to implement the purposes of this act and the zoning ordinance. And of course, the zoning ordinance has broad purposes, including public safety. So this is well within their power.
Oh, I didn't mean it wouldn't be, but I needed to know what type of condition the board was going to place and what the board would accept as meeting that condition.
I think written, I was going to write in written consent unless somebody has another idea.
Well, if they send an email or a letter, it's still written consent.
I think so.
Yes.
And then if there's some issue that he can't get hold of anybody, I think he can always come back for a clarification of it. I know utilities are sometimes difficult to get hold of.
And I know somebody I can reach out to with West Penn that handles a lot of their easements. I can reach out to her too and see if she can get me a little better information on that easement as well.
That would work.
That works.
I just want to make sure down the road he doesn't run into a problem.
Yeah, especially that's a large building, man. That's almost as big as a house. If he gets that damn thing half done and then finds out that, you know, we got a problem or he's got a problem, that's not a good situation for him to be in.
Yeah.
Now that building, if I understood it right, is going to be, the bottom part of it is going to be a brick as it comes off the foundation.
It'll be block, sir. Block foundation with, yeah,
So it'll be concrete block up to where the siding starts.
that's correct.
Okay, I got you.
Okay. Mr. Cope, is that okay with you? I mean, just cover you?
Yeah, I mean, I'll, you know, take what the board has to say. It's my understanding that that's why we have 10-foot easements. And the, you know, as long as I stayed off of that, then what I choose to do with my property is what I choose to do with it. But I'll take your advice here.
You know, I mean, I'm a firm believer in people do with their property with, you know, it's your property. But in the same sense too, I would hate to see you build something and then have them come through and say, you got to move it.
Understood.
Or tear it up. Yep.
Yeah, and Mr. Cope, I'll reach out to somebody I know with West Penn, and I'll reach out to her tomorrow. She's generally pretty quick at getting back to me, and as soon as I can get some information, I will get back in touch with you, or we may even stop out with her and I'll give you a call and keep you advised as we get all that information too.
Thanks, John. I appreciate that.
Well, John, I guess it's up to you. You got to get that, and then if everything's good, he can see you about a
Well,
building
that, and if he would need, something from the power company, Christy would be able to direct him into the appropriate person, office, or telephone number to get that. Because if you try to call the main number, you'll probably be there for quite some time.
and
Hey,
he's
John,
gonna-
is Christie the engineering rep that comes out in this area?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, she'll know about the height stuff for you too then.
and then he'll get you the prints in that for the garage.
Yes.
Then it looks like we're all done with this.
And then once the decision's issued, John, you can, by that time, maybe you'll have heard from West Penn Power, you could just keep that consent with the decision.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a catalog of decisions since you've been here? What do you do with it?
We have what we call a street file. Every property, well, almost every property has a file. And then as I get things, I put a copy of the decision in with that property file.
I see.
As older decisions prior to me, occasionally I may get lucky and find one, but I
Right.
have I think 2 file cabinets of zoning decisions that are filed by last name, not by property. So, and some of these go back to where the addresses are rural route. So, and I'm sure the property has long changed hands many times.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
Thank you all for your time. I appreciate it.
you're welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just need a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Second,
Motion made, seconded. Meeting adjourned. When's our next meeting?
August 26th, it's on the paper.
That would be it.
That would be it.
Okay.
Yep.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Have a good